Action activate. Is that it?
Yeah.
Here we come. There they go. People rise, 'cause they know we're super soldiers. We got cool clothes. You will soon. You see our pose. Tension. Energize. Let's go. Time to ride. Combine. Grease ties.
We cannot hear you at all.
Perfect. Perfect. You can hear me now, though, can't you?
We can.
Yes, I had.
Hi, welcome to
music.
Action Activate, where Gazbot is silent and Big Dog does all the talking.
Okay. This is another episode which we hadn't done in a while. Then we've gotten back to do some indie toku stuff. So we're doing Nerdbot and Crimson Vision, which are kind of almost the same thing now. And we're probably going to do at least one more of these in the not too distant future because we had covered some of their early stuff, done an interview, and then just sort of never went back to it for a million reasons, none of which matter.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those things of right around the time we did our interview with Colin Bass, which, by the way, if you haven't watched it, go back. He's a super cool guy. We were like, hey, you guys just released 2 new episodes. We have so much to talk about. And then after that, like an episode released here, it's like, oh, we'll wait. And then we realized, oh, we haven't formally talked about this in a while. So that's what we're doing now.
Yeah. And Unworthy. A new episode of Unworthy came out, which we reviewed, which got me in the mindset of this. And then I ran into ATO and Colin at a convention. And I was like, oh, well, right. We should catch up. We should catch up on their stuff. So where we picked up is, well, actually where I picked up, because I went back and rewatched this because it's been almost a year for some of this stuff. Something I hadn't seen was they had the first Ninja Lost Chapter, they called it. And that was where was it First Ninja or Rise? I'm sorry, but I always mess up First Ninja and Rise of the Ninja.
Was William Schufelt in it?
Yes, but so was Colin Bass.
Then it was Rise.
Okay, but it was called The Lost Chapter. And it was just a quick little goofy thing where he was like sort of training and he's like, oh, my new teacher is kind of goofy. And he's like, and it very much had a vibe to me of Yoda training Luke, or even Luke training Rey when he was like kind of goofing with her. And I think there was even a shot of him on his back, which didn't appear in the movie Last Jedi, I should say. But I don't know. It was not important story-wise, but it was a fun little piece of business.
It was, yeah. So kind of in that same vein. So for those that are less familiar or kind of like what we're doing today, haven't looked in a while. So Nerdbot and Crimson Vision, kind of that whole umbrella, have multiple Power Ranger series that are interconnected, but at various points in a singular timeline for the most part. It kind of gets confusing when you get to Shattered Past, but like that's the easiest way I can put it right now.
Yeah. For Rise and First Ninja, certainly. Shattered Past it starts, yeah, and we're not even going to, Bloodline is out there. So finished. You finished.
Yes. So in the timeline we're talking about, there's First Ninja, which talks about Jackson Brooks when he's kind of a young up-and-comer and getting started with kind of the ninja powers and some people there. Then we jump kind of past present day where we have Rise of the Ninja, where we've already, this is post Ninja Steel, where Brody has already been a Ninja Steel Ranger. Jackson's a more grizzled mentor at this point, and he kind of gets together and
grizzled.
And it's more for Colin, because I know when we talked to Colin, he's like, oh yeah, I gotta do Rise of the Ninja stuff, so I'm growing out my stubble. Whereas when he does Jackson stuff, he's like,
yeah, that's true.
So it does have a time jump there, but those are the kind of linear timelines, and then you have Shattered Past that's like a giant metaphorical game of pinball in the best way, where it's just
wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, but also with dimensions in there too. Yeah. It's wackadoo in a good way.
Yes.
But where we're picking up, even though I mentioned the Lost Chapter, we're picking up with episode 3 of Shattered Past. We formally reviewed 1, and I think 2 we talked about during the interview.
Correct.
Just to recap what happened, 2 basically, I have my notes here. Landon Tate is the current Time Force Red, and he has teamed up with Sam O'Neill, who is the current Omega Ranger. And Time Force Red is what you'd expect. Omega Ranger has Omega Access, where he's pulling in Saba and all kinds of other crazy weapons, and he's got like this. And one of the aspects I like about the character, which they explore in, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but in episode 3, where he definitely has that gotta catch them all mentality, where he's like, what's that gun? Can I scan that real quick? What's that? You know, it's just, I thought that was a funny little thing. Cause like, why would, if you could just scan stuff and have it, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But so Shattered Past was mainly about the two of them fighting Psycho Green and also Time Blue, who misunderstood the situation and thought he had to apprehend him and stuff. So that was kind of the main thing that happened. And then they ran away at the end.
Yeah.
Then there was a little teaser for Bloodlines that had DJ Rivers and Christopher Kamen Lee. And we're like, well, what's going on here? I guess this is, he's an In-Space Red, and Christopher Kamen Lee looks like he might be Party Clipter. What's happening? But we don't know. And that's where we're at going into episode 3.
Mm-hmm. So episode 3, kind of like we do, initial thoughts, kind of picking up where it left off. This is kind of, we're seeing little bits of the overarching expanded Power Rangers universe here. That White Ranger is actually Draken, which is kind of cool. So kind of like you said, Landon Tate, we know, is the father of Sky Tate, and it was a good nod to SPD. And right here, really cool so far. The thing I
love this title treatment here too. Very old school, but like,
and shout out to ATO, good theme song for Shattered Past.
Yes.
I think this was actually the first theme song for any of these series. And then after that, Unworthy retroactively had a theme song. I think it's true.
That sounds right, but it's been so long that I don't remember. I'll give you Ninja Steel.
I'm gonna pre Ninja Steel, and then you could take it if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Shout out to Mark. Really good version of Psycho Green without the helmet. In one of the comics, you get to see Psycho Green kind of in a non-Psycho Ranger form. And they do a really good job kind of not necessarily paying homage, but like integrating that into this, but still making this version so much its own thing that, Mark really gets to do his own stuff with it, and it's really cool.
I agree. And also from a storytelling point of view, they do a good job. He's complaining that he got beat and, we had help from the Time Force Red. And Draken's like, so what? We've killed thousands of, like, why is this a big deal? So it does a good job of explaining, like, they've been steamrolling over everyone and this shouldn't be a problem. And, I don't know what this shot is. I mean, obviously this is where Draken is talking from, some big crazy fort ship.
Yeah, I think this is Draken's like giant ship that he is now
but we don't know
the Armada. Yeah,
we don't know what this is exactly. It's just sort of like, this is bad, I guess.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't know if it happened here or later. One of my, he's the same race. What's the race that from Time Force? Is he supposed to be? Was it Trip? No.
So I don't know if he's supposed to be from Edenoi.
Edenoi would make him a Masked Rider.
Well, it would be the same. Like the Masked Rider is from Edenoi, if that's what you're saying.
Yes. I'm getting befuddled. In Time Force.
Yes.
Time Force Green had a crystal in his head.
Yes.
It was Trip. Okay, so that's what I thought. But he was not from Edenoi. Or was he?
I don't remember if they inherit. They don't say it in Time Force, but they may do a nod in this that I may have missed.
I guess that's what I'm wondering. If this is a connection to Trip or a connection to Masked Rider, or they're connected and I just didn't know or remember that.
I know in the comic he had something like that as well, and I don't remember because he's part of another Ranger team that is short-lived.
I don't know. I don't remember if he talked much with the helmet there, but I will say this. One of the criticisms I had of the first episode, at least I remember I said it in 2, was that the voice with the helmet on, while I had no problem with the acting or the voice, there was like an effect put over it that sometimes made it hard to understand. Not this time. Perfectly crystal clear. I heard everything. So whatever that was, fixed it. So you're welcome, everybody.
Good job.
Thanks.
So right here, we get to see the Time Bros, as they're known in some circles, start to run around. A lot of references to other Ranger teams. They're like, hey, where are we going to go? We're running away from...
They're being chased by ninjas.
Yeah, and they're like, is it Ninja Steel? Is it Ninja Storm? What is this?
Right.
Is this an ad? Who knows?
They're being chased by a bed. What is happening?
Yeah. At first, I was like, what tab do you have open there?
It's a bed commercial. There was nothing lascivious about it.
Good use of the word lascivious.
Thanks. It came right out of my mouth.
They get to fight ninjas. They have some good banter, very reminiscent of MMPR.
And also, watch this. Like if this seems interesting to you and you haven't seen it, go watch it because we're spoiling everything.
Yeah.
This-
So I was gonna say, doubling down on that without going too far. All of these are reviews, meaning they are full of spoilers. If you
Yes.
haven't watched it, at the beginning of the video, watch it and then come back because
yeah, this is or it's for people who have seen it. They just want to hear people talk about it.
Yeah.
Or if you're like, I don't know if I want to see this. Hopefully, we're convincing you. But at the point you're convinced, stop watching because
well,
we're just
the thing I want to say, the first couple episodes are fairly short, and episode I think 4 onward for all of these series, like all the recent episodes are like
12
about
minutes.
20 minutes
Oh,
plus.
is it 20?
This one's 12.
Okay.
The 4 I think is like 18. So you're gonna hear us.
Yes.
You're gonna hear us ramble longer than it would take you to watch it. So just go watch it and we'll shut up.
Yeah, and as they go, they're getting more actors, more funding, more everything. Like aside from just hey, you learn as you go, they literally are getting funding and actors coming in because whatever. So yeah,
it's ramping. Yeah,
and so it makes sense this long. Yeah, this fight. What were we saying about this fight? The civilian fight.
That's good. I like it.
I enjoyed it too. I think you said it feels old school. Did you use those words?
Yes, it reminds me of MMPR very early, where there's a lot more banter during the fights.
Yes, and
where it's like, "Hey, I'm a little tied up here."
Yeah, literally this, and like the ninjas are like putties. Like, wait a minute. Okay, no, but all in a good way, and a lot, even though it's a martial arts fight, and I don't know about martial arts to know how realistic this is, but it feels a lot more like early MMPR, where some of those actors did know martial arts, but a lot of them were just gymnastic, athletic people. And this just feels like choreography and athleticism more than like an actual like fight. And again, this is not a criticism. It felt very nostalgic.
What I will say from a behind the scenes standpoint, the camera work is really good to highlight kind of us seeing the skills of the protagonists. Like, even like you said, even if they're not like, world-renowned martial artists, everything they're doing looks great, which just highlights the direction in this and the choreography. One thing I want to say, pause really quick. If you look, their costumes are incredibly basic, but look so damn cool because of those jackets.
Yeah.
It's like a plain t-shirt and pants, but the jacket just sends it over.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and the fact that they got like morphers and he has a gun and stuff, but yeah, no.
But like, look, it's a plain shirt, but the jacket's just like, yep.
It's got a V-neck, so it's not just. I mean, he's got the little plunge going, so
a mild plunge, tasteful plunge. I think there's actually something on Red Ranger's shirt, but like I said, for the most part,
I don't see it. Yeah, I mean, I don't see what it is. Yeah.
It's a texture difference, like near the neck and stuff.
Oh yeah, I can see like a mesh.
Yeah, I think the future.
Yeah. So he has one last time jump from his Omega, and so they go through that. Okay.
Megazord getting wrecked.
Yes, the Megazord getting wrecked. Them coming into this moment, they're looking for a moment between MMPR. It's funny that he says MMPR, or does he say Mighty Morphin MMPR?
I think Mighty Morphin. I don't know.
It's always funny to me, and they have to refer to it that way. And in canon they have, but it's always funny to me because later teams have like a team name or like we're called this because of the Zeo crystals or whatever, and it sort of makes sense. But very clearly, early Power Rangers was just like, hey, this is Power Rangers, and there's not going to be any more. And like, so now when referring to it, it's like, oh, the Mighty Morphin era, and it's just like it's odd that it's like here's all the teams: Jungle Fury, Wild Force, Mighty Morphin. Like
it's kind of like saying the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
They had other Ninja Turtles. Yeah, exactly. So they use that vernacular and they have to, and I understand. But every time I hear it anywhere, I'm like, that's a little weird. But they said they needed a space between that and Zeo so that they could get the Zeo crystals or crystal. And so this makes sense. They're coming in, they see the Megazord getting destroyed. But two things. One, and I'm sorry to be negative, but this CGI is not good.
I like it. I like the
really
CGI. For what it is, I like it.
Yes. Let's watch it. No, man.
I accept it.
I accept it as being better than I could do, and I'd rather have that than nothing. But it's just weird to me because, like, it looks like at first I thought they had an action figure or a toy that they did a little stop motion or puppetry of like photographing it and moving them. But I think they actually constructed like a 3D model.
Yes.
But mean, I hate to be. I guess because I'm a visual artist, I feel a little bit more entitled to criticize this, and I have been. Didn't do 3D animation, but I have been an animator. It just, I feel like it could have been done better without necessarily costing more. Like even the way it falls just seems unnatural. Like I'm
It's a
sorry.
3-second clip.
Yeah, but it. If it was something,
you're needlessly nitpicking, in my opinion.
When we watched one of the episodes of Unworthy, you see Megazords way in the background falling down, exploding, and I feel like it was a similar level of quality. And again, I acknowledge budget is minuscule. This is independent. Could I do any better? No, I'm not. But it's I'm not going to just say everything's great if I think certain things are subpar. And what makes this more subpar than it was in Unworthy is in that it was a thing in the background. This, it's like front and center, and it's supposed to be like, oh no. And the next scene, he's like, oh my God, like the Megazord is like, don't worry, if we do this right, none of this will have happened. And it's just like, it didn't sell it that way for me. It was just sort of like, oh, I guess a Megazord fell over awkwardly. Was that?
Nope, I was about it. I'm cool with it. I think it looks cool in its own design.
How it falls.
Yeah, the fall is awkward. I'll give you that, but everything else
sense.
I like.
And it looks like, do you remember Erector sets?
Yes.
It kind of looks like an Erector set version.
If you rewind this one more time, I will unplug. Let's move on, please.
I'm sorry, but it's because it's again one of those things where like I'm enjoying everything else, and when I saw that, I was like,
there are more egregious CGIs I've seen in the Netflix official Power Ranger series than that.
Not on a Megazord.
Because they're using suits. That's not fair.
Not always.
Most of the time.
But like, see, that's the problem, is it's clearly supposed to be a big dramatic. He's like, oh, the Megazord. I'm like, the acting sells it, the CGI.
You are in your own camp in this. I thought was cool. So 2 things. Yeah. We've talked about this a lot in these fan projects. One, I love when they incorporate things that are readily available, like in the world, that you don't have to always custom make. So you have a White Ranger helmet that's official. It probably was like $80. And then you have a cosplay that somebody already has. Cool. From a story standpoint, this is a version of Draken that got the power coin. He didn't do some weird fudging so he looks like Draken like we know. It's like, no, I got the White Ranger powers. So that's what he did. And it looks awesome and it makes perfect sense and I love it.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I thought, though, that this was an early version of what would eventually become the other Draken. Because, and here's why, and maybe this might clear up some confusion I had, because he says, and this is later in the fight, he says something along the lines of like, oh, we've killed you guys so many times, different versions of you two, and blah, 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 blah. And he says something along the lines of, I heard some version of you made it all the way up to Draken, implying that, yes, he is Evil Tommy on that path. He's not yet Draken. Did I misunderstand that?
Maybe. To me, this is Draken, but not like Lord Draken by like
this is
name and title.
Yeah,
this is obviously a different version. But to me, this is, he has the White Ranger powers, but he still has a Dragon Dagger.
I thought this was earlier in a Draken's timeline. And you're saying, no, this is this version of Draken.
I think it is a version of Draken.
I thought it was,
maybe it is earlier in the timeline, but still, like, he just defeated the Megazord, so.
Yes, but now I want to see what he actually says. I just killed my team. How are you guys going to beat me? I will say it's awesome that he's like, okay, well, Saba versus Saba. And I've said this before, but I love how he gets just like that one gauntlet. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Alternate Saba, clever. Brings in the Chrono Saber. Okay, where?
Chrono Saber's great. Love it.
And that was another thing. He's like, hey, nice sword. He's like, hey, don't even think about it. Okay, look, this is what he says. There have been a few versions of you two that have made it all the way to Draken.
So here's how I take that. And if anybody knows for sure in the comments and I'm dumb, please let me know. But to me, this is a version of Evil Tommy that essentially is Draken because that's how we're classifying it. But he works for Lord Draken, that is the like kind of head of the more multiversal like bad guy who we saw at the beginning of the episode that's like leading everything, but he's like, hey, different timeline Tommy. You're not Lord Draken, but like you're a version of Draken. Here we go.
So you think that in this whole multiversal thing, there is one Lord Draken.
I think there's like a
one Lord Draken
Prime.
And beneath him there are other evil Tommy Olivers, but there's one Lord Draken that they all report
there's like the
to.
Lord, yeah.
That's weird. That's kind of like makes me think of Rick and Morty with like the Ricks that would report to other Ricks. That doesn't quite
Yep.
make sense. But I guess he's the Rickinest Rick there is, or the Draconest Draken there is.
Well, if you think about it from like a multiversal perspective, and we're going deep in the weeds, so apologies if this is boring anybody. But like if you look at like the DC multiverse where it's like different versions of Superman or Batman from different Earths,
Yes.
there's ones that have similarities but then stark differences. This one's just more of the similar but different path.
I guess. Well, and this is not the fault of this fan film, but like of just that concept that they've brought up, because I guess it's like, well, if they're all somewhat evil Tommy, they're killing their friends. Wouldn't they be like, well, I'm going to kill this? Like they should all be like Starscream. They should all want to kill Lord Draken. And like, so it'd be interesting if Lord Draken was constantly getting assassinated and replaced by another Tommy Oliver, because why would they stop? Like, oh, I killed all my friends and I got 2 powers. Oh, I guess I'll just work for this other guy now. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
to me, the Lord Draken that's been in charge, however this hierarchy goes for his army and whatnot, because we've seen Psycho Green works for him.
mm-hmm.
To me, he has established himself as more powerful than the others, where they know, like, well, I can't beat him. So, like I'm not going to challenge him because, like, I know I can't. If I have the opportunity, maybe, but like,
Okay.
there's no way.
Well, and I guess maybe I guess that makes sense that that's what they're doing. I took it probably incorrectly now after speaking with you that it was more like okay, another Star Wars reference. Anakin Skywalker to Darth Vader, like in Revenge of the Sith. He turns evil. He's killing younglings. He's fighting Obi-Wan. His eyes are red, but he's not Darth Vader yet. He's evil Anakin. I mean, they're calling him Darth Vader, but he's not, and then by the end, he's in the suit. So I thought this was like Anakin in the middle towards end of Revenge of the Sith, where he's evil and he's killing people, but he doesn't put on the full suit yet. That's what I thought we were dealing with. I think he was just speaking about like, oh yeah, some of you made it further in my timeline, but I guess it makes more sense if he is like a lieutenant in the army or something.
I think we both might be right, but in different like points that we've said. I think you're right with the Anakin reference, and I think I might be right in there are evil Tommies that are essentially Draken, but not like Lord Draken, and there's only one person who could tell us if we're right or wrong.
Well,
Colin Bass, if you're there, please let us know.
He might not be the only person, but I also,
him.
On Crimson Vision channel and on Nerdbot, there are a lot of like live Q&A hour-long videos with the actors and creators. Full disclosure, I haven't watched most of that.
Same.
So they may have covered some of this, but I'm more. I don't know. I've been watching the episodes more than the behind the scenes. Maybe when I'm at the whatever. There might be answers in there, but
I like how you're about to be like, I should watch it, and you're like, I'm not committing to that video right now because I don't want to be made into a liar.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's like saying, I'm just going to go out and watch Overdrive right now.
Yeah. Don't you have it on DVD?
I do, actually.
That makes sense. I mean,
Operation Overdrive is my favorite season.
I have to bring it down to Gazbot's house so we can watch together. Or wait till it's on YouTube.
There you go. They're going pretty quick. Okay, so we have this fight, and he's like, boy, that was pretty easy. He's like, oh, that's the part where it's the Chrono Saber.
All we've learned in all the fan films is
Operation Overdrive is my favorite season.
That wasn't on purpose that time. Sorry.
The Chrono Sabers were underutilized in the show because they do some work in these.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot in all the fan films, they highlight the weapons and abilities that are not really highlighted in the show. Like, one time I used this power, and they're like, that's a huge power. Why wouldn't I use that all the time? Like,
I also love how he chipped the armor, which is cool.
I also like Darwin said, like that actually hurt.
The other thing I like, and this is just a total Power Ranger thing, I love when Power Rangers use their weapons not morphed.
Yes. Yeah, me too.
I don't know why, but it's just like...
I'll tell you why. Because it connects the actor in our minds more. Like going back to Mighty Morphin, I think it was the end of season 2, or season 2 was the first time you saw them kind of like the American actors in the suits. There's something very primal about like, okay, we know that's supposed to be them, but on some level you perceive that it's a stunt actor or it could be anybody. So I think there's just something about like, oh, they took the helmet off. Oh, they have the gun. Like it connects it more and makes it more like they're really that Power Ranger is what I think.
So
and you see them emoting too.
Yeah. So we see them get yanked from that point in time.
Now, when you saw them get yanked, did you have a theory of who that was? Because I did immediately.
At first, I was like, is this a different Sam?
That was my thought, too. It looked like, and I'll back it up now, but I thought that looked like a red suit with an Omega Ranger morpher. and that's exactly what it
Oh,
looked like.
yeah.
Yeah. Which is backed up later in this episode. Spoilers. So if it's not another Sam, it's a red Omega Ranger that isn't Sam, which kind of doesn't make sense. So they land here, and you see the little. Oh, I didn't catch that the first time.
Oh, the Deca sword, yeah.
Yeah, which makes sense that if it is Sam, he'd have all the different weapons at his disposal.
Yeah.
And he leaves the Zeo Crystal and charges him up. Let's click there.
So I actually have a theory that I think is in their comic. I'm not sure. Because they have a Shattered Past comic, by the way.
Yes.
That's available in their Patreon. So I think that might be Jack.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. That's for huh.
So Jack has 3
SP
because he has 3 SPD Rangers powers.
In the comic.
No, so I'm pretty sure Jack's in the comic. I'm not 100% sure.
You're saying Jack, SPD Red Leader. Jack.
Yeah. Former SPD Red Leader.
Former SPD Red Leader. Okay. So you're thinking that isn't Sam, that's Jack with the Omega and with the okay.
Yes.
I mean, I haven't read the comics, so you might know something I don't, but okay.
It'd be very Jason Zeo Gold in the sense of stuff went bad. He's putting everything together, taking what he needs, and going to town.
Okay, so they get a call from Psycho Green, and he's like, I can't find you, Time Bros, but you're going to come to me because he's captured Autumn Tate, and he's like, who's that? He's like, that's Sky's mom. That's my wife in the past. So he's captured his wife in the past when she was still alive, and it's like, oh, this is weird because, like, I guess you have to save her, so the timeline, but she's still going to, like, it's a weird, that's a mind, messer.
There's some. So the thing I'll say now that we're paused, the timey-wiminess, and that's a Doctor Who term for those that are unaware, is supercharged in this series. Yeah. But at no point that I can recall when I was watching did I go, they kind of plot hold this. Like everything they've done, I've stayed along and been like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that
I agree. And they have enough throwaway lines here and there to either explain it kind of, or be like, that'll make sense later, or you know, I agree. And that's when Doctor Who, well, current Doctor Who has been disappointing me. Let's just say that. But Doctor Who, when it's done right, just like this, there's stuff that if you really sit down and think like, does this make sense? How does this work? But in the moment, it's just fun and it's fine and it kind of hangs together. And maybe a year later, when you're thinking about it, you're like, that doesn't make sense, and that's fine. That's totally fine as long as it's fun along the way. Yeah. So this seems like the end, but we've got minutes left because now we cut to another Bloodline of the Grid teaser epilogue, and this is the second we have, but this one gives us more. This is TK, who I don't know if they reveal it here, but we do know that this is TJ's son.
Yes, I think they said like something either this or later on. They say something of like, "Oh, Dad's gonna be mad," and it's like, okay.
We watch other stuff, so like we know that this is TJ's son, which is awesome. And he's not the blue in space, he's the red in space Ranger, which is cool. But he's waiting to see the Omega Ranger. Or I think he says red. Oh wait, hold on. Red Omega. So again, further confirmation that that was a red Omega Ranger.
He's talking to Andros.
Yes. Well, we saw that last episode, so we know he's talking to Andros. We don't know what's going on with Andros, but him and Andros are either friends, partners, uneasy alliance. They're together. Yeah. They all pull their guns, but then he puts his up because he says, "Oh, baby Omega," which again indicates this is earlier timeline version. And he's like, "I don't like you. We're not friends, but I know who you are, and I'm not gonna, So
very, very River Song.
Yeah. If Sam doesn't become Red Omega, this is all set up to make us think he does, because either he does and this all makes sense, or he doesn't, and it's like, what the who now? What are we doing? Figure it out. Now this. At first, I was not a fan of. Then at the end, I was like, okay, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Do you want to? What did you think about this?
At first, when I just read alternate timeline, I'm like, okay, won't matter. Just a fun little alternate thing that they shot that they're including in this.
Oh, that's not what I thought at all. I thought somehow it was like a split thing where, okay, the Sam we've been following is here, but for some reason, here's another Sam that now we got to keep track of. That's what I thought. Like, it was going to be important, but I'm like, oh man, on top of everything else, now there's 2 Sams doing different things. Like, but no, we were both wrong. It's a way that they can have this Omega Ranger show up in Unworthy, because Chrono Ranger puts out a call looking for any Ranger that can come help. And again, watch Unworthy if you haven't. We did a review on them if you're interested. And so I like that, because you know what it reminds me of? When they rebooted Star Trek, the original series, and the 3 J.J. Abrams movies, that first movie, they had Leonard Nimoy playing old Spock from the dimension we've all known up to that point. And he goes into a new dimension and he's like, oh, this is a new timeline. Things are going to be different. And that made it all okay. And you didn't have to worry about that. And it's the same with this. Okay, they found a way to have an actor and a character they like be in that series, and none of that is going to affect the show we're currently watching. So that, I liked it. It was, instead of being something that was going to be another piece to keep track of that might start to get confusing, it was like, oh no, it's just, okay, he's going to go do that thing and fine. Yeah.
And I love how, after talking to Colin and messaging with Blurred Vision a little bit, it's like, man, like, this is a very, like, complicated storyline on both sides. Like, how are we going to do it? Like, nah, we got it figured out. And then they did this, and they're like, sweet. All right, cool. Also love just Saba getting love. I know Saba got some love in Mighty Morphin, but, like, Saba didn't get enough love, in my opinion. I'm a huge fan of Saba.
I agree, and I think we both have the replica, and which is probably what they're using, and it's a
oh, yeah, it is, yeah.
And then they say, episode 5, Power Rangers Unworthy, right there. And then he talks about they have a Patreon now, which you can check out. There's all kinds of crazy tiers. Again, that's why they're getting more funding, because of that. And there's, like, you vote on what the next season will be. They had a thing where people were able to get into the show. There's all kinds of stuff you can check out. So again, links below, follow that.
The other thing I loved about this, if you go back to one of the freeze frames of Colin in the suit, is when we talked to him during our interview, he kept telling us, like, yeah, everybody in the comments keeps saying I'm not a real Ranger because I'm not in the suit. And then when I saw this, I'm like, yes, I'm excited for you.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's such a weird thing, because I see, what's his name? Mike Olasky gets that a lot. It's like, you're not a real Ranger because you weren't in the suit. And it's like, okay, he wasn't, but he was the Red Ranger for like a season.
He's like, I was Rocky on Power Rangers.
Yeah, it's
let
weird,
it go.
It's a weird distinction to make, like, because honestly, I don't even know, like, I don't even care really. It's more like, oh, you either are interested in this person and their work, or you're not. But trying to legitimize or delegitimize someone based on how many episodes or what they wore, then it's just a weird thing. Like, do you like them or not? If you like them, great. If you don't, who cares? Like,
it's like going up to a voice actor and being like, well, you weren't in the suit. It's like, I am the voice of Optimus Prime.
Right.
Shut up.
I think, and I guess it's just that weird thing of, like, I don't follow people who I either don't like or I'm not interested in their work.
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of people do. Yeah. And then want to just explain to them why they're not impressed by them. It's like, well,
excuse me, here's why you're wrong.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, like, and honestly, I know we're getting on a tangent here, but I follow Michael Lasky, like, not because he was young Rocky. That's how I found him, but he's a funny guy. He does cool martial arts, and he has a lot of funny TikToks, and, like, so even without that, I just enjoy following him. Is really,
Shout out Michael Lasky. Would love to talk to you at some point.
Yeah, totally.
So the cool thing about this, now that we're catching up on the review side of things, is we just had Unworthy episode 4, which means that we haven't seen Sam yet in episode 5.
Right. Yeah.
Rehyped. Hype.
Let me make sure, because we're going to talk about Rise next, but I'll make sure I didn't miss anything. Blowline teaches kids, Sam alternate timeline, TK landed all dead, multiversal cataclysm, 2 and 8 Chrono Ranger, Unworthy. And I just had another note. Good Tommy. I think we talked about this before, but I like the Tommy voice, like whatever the vocal impersonation or whatever. It's the perfect. Oh yeah, that kind of sounds like Tommy without being like a Sikya. How you doing, Sikya?
So this is something tying back to a previous review we did of actually Beast Morphers, and I think of maybe Dino Fury, I don't know, but we talked about when they couldn't use certain audio from old Power Rangers, and they tried, like, some of those were just, I know you guys did your best, it was horrendous, but then you get fan series and it's like, how'd you do such a
the sound was good too. It sounds like a pretty decent
like all those, I'm like, how did you do such a
we were
good
talking
job
about when we got sidetracked. It's odd because Saba is sentient.
Yeah.
And that's something they barely used in Mighty Morphin. Like occasionally, like, oh, let's go, But like, yeah, in the comics here, it's like, no, he's like, I'm picking you. We got a mission, which makes sense because it's a sentient entity. It's not just a sword that can talk.
Yeah.
There's a big difference, like.
Yeah, and that's the thing I really like about it, and kind of also like we said, you have certain footage that you have to use for Power Rangers, and I get that, and then you get the comics, and it's like, no, Saba can float around because we don't need CG. Someone draws it.
Right. That's fair, but I'm imagining like because it's from Die Ranger, and in Die Ranger, the White Ranger was a child, and so
Yes.
Saba was sort of like helping him, sort of being a
Like
mentor.
a half mentor, yeah.
Yeah, here's what we have to do, And so, but like with Tommy, it was weird because he'd always be like, "Hey, what are we doing?" He's like, "Whatever, Saba, let's go." Like they could have still had it be a character. They didn't have to be a mentor, but whatever. We're getting in the weeds. But anyway, yes, Saba's awesome, and I'm glad he's getting some love. The next thing we're going to talk about though is Rise of the Ninja.
Yes.
Which is not on Crimson Vision Studios page. There's like trailers, and the early stuff was there. Now it's on Nerdbot. So if you're looking for this one, you got to go to Nerdbot. And then let me pull this up here. And this takes place, as you were saying, after First Ninja. So
after Ninja Steel, honestly.
Well, after Ninja Steel, yes, but after Ninja Steel. So he's still playing Brody, but retired. He's given back his Ninja Star and everything, or put it back in the
Nexus prism.
Yeah. But I'm saying in the context of these fan films, it's again timey-wimey because First Ninja, as of this filming, has not completed. This takes place. They're like, well, we beat Daishi and we're all going home, So like this takes place. Well, I guess it's in two timelines because in the present day, it's like literally whatever it is, 2021 as the time of filming this. So Ninja Steel has been over for a little while. He's, just being a regular teacher, but he's speaking with Jackson, Colin Bass in this one, through mental telepathy. But that version of Jackson, I should say, is further ahead in the timeline of the show. That's currently,
I forgot about that. That's what it was. Yeah. You're right.
So it's not a big deal, but if you're watching all of them, you got to kind of like, yeah. So, but it starts, and that's what we see. It starts with them basically burying their morphers and being like, okay, well, we're all done. We won. Everything's good. Gonna go have a baby and start the academy and move to, what was it, Blue Harbor, wherever Ninja Storm takes place. I forget.
Yeah.
Blue Harbor, whatever. And so he comes in and he's like, yeah, cool. I'm going to give you mine too. And then they make a little joke about the kid. And we know the kid is Dustin, who is Earth style. And he's like, I have a feeling it's going to be Earth style. And they're like, no way. And I like that joke because it's one, I like it because it makes us feel smart because we know, oh no, he is. He's definitely going to be.
Yeah.
He's right.
And it's things like that, like small details that you're just like, oh, thank you for putting that in. You didn't need to, but it's just tying it together even more. So love it.
One thing I'll say about this particular episode, again, I'm going to be the negative guy. The sound design, the sound mix, whatever you want to call it, is not great.
I think it was a behind the scenes thing.
Sure. I don't know who did it. I'm not pointing a finger at any one person or technology. Who knows why? But several times I would go from one scene where I'm like, okay, let me turn it up. And then the next scene would be too loud, or one character's voice would fade in and out, or that like the sound effect was way louder. So I don't know what was going on, but I mean,
actually, I could be 100% wrong, but I feel like I remember them posting like, hey, we're taking a little bit longer to release this because sound was like a really big problem, and we're doing the best we can because some of this was shot a while ago, but like we're definitely improving it in post.
That sounds familiar. And like I said, to be fair, it is watchable. It's totally watchable. But the other, even when I had the complaint about the Psycho Ranger, it was just like a choice to give that noise on his filter. Everything else was more or less balanced. Okay. This one was just a little bit not that way. It was noticeably not as good for whatever reason. I love the effect on this. What are they called?
Yeah.
It's
like Ninja Vision or something.
Ninja Vision. Yeah. Because this is Ninja. Because he's like, I'm all retired. And then Ninja's like, nope, come back. And he's doing the voice of Ninja. So he's talking to himself here. And that is the ninja suit from Unworthy that they were lent or rented or traded, borrowed, whatever, which I think is a great update. It's a perfect, like, okay, it's still Ninja, but it, a little bit more practical.
Yeah, a little sleek.
Yeah. And he's
Um,
basically, you got to train Brody. Sorry, I have the hiccups now, which is awesome.
no, it's all good. I will admit, rewatching these also made me very excited to see Ninja Con when when he comes in.
Yes. I agree. In Unworthy, we should say.
Oh, also, if you don't follow them on social media, please do, because they post awesome stuff, especially getting a preview of the NinjaCon voice that, like, yeah. I happily lost to that man.
Yeah, same. Many entered, only one won, and we were 2 that entered.
And I remember we both were texting each other of like, hey, did you hear the guy who won? Yeah, he's really good. Yeah.
It's like, all right, yeah. I didn't feel bad losing to him. It was like, all right, okay, fair.
That man can narrate my life. All right. So we see him in Ninja Vision talking to Brody a little bit.
No, we didn't get that was him talking to Ninjor. Then we cut to Brody.
And Brody, I thought he reached out to him. Oh no, he's fighting. You're right. Sorry, I'm ahead of myself.
Hey, you got to teach Brody, and then it's like the chain of events. Now Brody's fighting these people, but it turns out he's the teacher. I have a question for you, Big Dog, because you know more about martial arts than me.
Yes.
How realistic is this?
Anytime you're fighting multiple opponents and the single person wins, it's not incredibly realistic. I will start there.
No, I'm not. He's the superhuman, the best martial artist. He's a Power Ranger. I that's all fine. But like the poses he's doing, I don't know. I want to see William. They call him Will. I don't know if I feel like he goes by Will, but his stage name is William. So whatever. Shoefelt here. I don't know. He's clearly in really good shape.
Yes.
I don't know if he's a martial artist or not. I have no idea if he knows anything or if he just does what the choreographer.
I think he dabbles.
Okay, well, so knowing almost nothing, when I see the poses he does,
very showy.
It looks showy. It looks cool. It looks Power Rangers. I'm not criticizing. This all looks fine to my untrained eye. But I'm like, is that like a real stance? Is that a real pose, or is that a Power Ranger stance?
So the thing that they lean into in this, and it's actually a mild segue, is a lot of like Power Rangers in general. A lot of what they do looks very showy. Like that right there is totally reasonable. That's like something you do. The fingers either out. Like I know JDF does this a lot. Like in my school, we did them all together, but different strokes for different folks. But like all this so far, kind of reasonable as like kind of something in a fight you wouldn't necessarily do it. But all right here is very traditional, like blocks and punches and kicks and things like that. But what I will say is a lot of this is very showy, but they lean into it a lot in these 2 series, which I really appreciate. And Colin, I think, takes a lot of inspiration from, I'm sure anime and obviously other things from like other Power Ranger.
More important.
Yeah, like I'm not going to say he took this from Naruto, but like a lot of the stuff he does, it's like that is ridiculous but cool.
Right. Well, and that was what I was thinking, because those poses did look cool. You get a muscular guy being like this, like, okay, I buy that. But then in the back of my head, I'm like, just because we're analyzing it, it's like, does it make sense? I don't know. Yeah. I do also like another example of a joke. He's like, you've all improved. He's like, not you though. Like, the guy's like, oh, like again, I think reviewing Power Rangers, I have a perceived reputation of like, I don't like jokes in Power Rangers, and it's not true.
Yeah,
I just don't like bad jokes. I just don't like bad jokes.
It is a thing that's like kind of a double-edged sword of whenever we watch these series, like you said, it makes us hate Power Rangers a little bit more. So I'm not 100% sure.
Yes.
But I like to think that this is A, an homage to VR Troopers, and B, where they shot that scene of VR Troopers.
That was the first thing I thought.
Okay, and everything about it was just the same, like the same hue, the same everything. If that is 100% on purpose,
and like a father figure,
to you guys.
Yeah, it had to be. It had to be, right?
I hope
like
so.
That was the first thing I thought. I was like, oh, like, are they going to mention VR Troopers during this somehow?
Or say Cybertron or something. For those that don't know, brief 10-second tangent. Before VR Troopers,
Big Dog Knowledge Zone. We haven't done that.
You're right. We haven't. Knowledge Zone. So before VR Troopers, there was a pilot shot for a show called Cybertron, and it starred JDF, and he was essentially going to be the main VR Trooper. Ryan, I'm forgetting his last name, but the what?
Steel.
Thank you. Ninja Steel point to you.
Woohoo!
Or Ryan Steel point to you as it
Yes.
were. So he was going to be Ryan Steele. I think he was named differently in the pilot, but he was going to be like the main VR trooper. But they said his name was Cybertron, and they used all the Metal Hero footage and this and that, and it didn't get picked up. But then it became VR Troopers, and from that, Brad Hawkins was going to be the White Ranger in season 2 of Power Rangers, but instead JDF became the White Ranger in Power Rangers, and Brad Hawkins became Ryan Steele in VR Troopers, and then they still had a good relationship with Saban, where they're like, hey, you know what? You should also do this voice for the Gold Ranger because you sound very heroic and cool. So he did that in Zeo.
Yeah.
JDF was obviously in Zeo and Turbo, and the rest is history.
Although that was weird though, because I'm sure a lot of people were like, oh, I guess Brad Hawkins is going to be Zeo Gold. And then when it became Jason, it was even like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget. Actually, I saw this recently. So behind the scenes for Zeo Part 2 Knowledge Zone, they introduced, I think it was David Trueheart was the character's name, who was Tommy's brother. And
JDF's brother.
That's, and JDF's brother. You're correct. Eric Frank, who had passed, and he originally was being set up to be Gold, and because he either was sick or had passed at that time, I don't remember the exact timeline.
Oh, I never heard that.
I heard it recently, and it could be wrong in like a fan theory.
I know he's no longer. I know the actor, the real life person, is no longer with us.
Yes.
And I know they set him up to be hey, this might be him. I thought he was never going to be that character, and it was just. I didn't think those two things were connected at all.
I thought they were connected from a recent thing I saw. I could be wrong if you know different.
Google search would, just looking at the timelines, to be honest, of when things happen. But all right. Well, so anyway, back to this.
Great shot, as we said, picking up from great shot, great scene.
Yeah, if they didn't do it on purpose, well then, hey, just good job doing it.
And this is what I'm talking about right here. Look at the facial hair. Clearly an older, grizzled Jackson Brooks.
Why not? Why grizzled? Grizzled makes it seem like look at
his face. That is a grizzled face.
He's wizened.
Colin, if you're going for grizzled and I'm right, please let me know.
It's not grizzled because he's starting a school. He's got a wife and a kid on the way. Grizzled makes me think he's like, I'm done.
No, this is future. This is future.
No, this Colin. Wait, okay, hold on a second. Now I'm confused. This this Jackson that he is speaking to right now, I thought was the exact same timeline Jackson from the beginning when Ninja was like, hey, you got to go talk to him.
So then don't fully rewind, but hover over the beginning to see if he has facial hair when he has a beanie.
He does.
Dang it.
Ninja Steel.
I don't know then. I could still be right, but
why would they? Okay, I'm going with like path of least resistance, Occam's razor, Why would they say, okay, we're going to have Jackson at a different point in his timeline than the current show, but then we're going to have him at from a different point, like two different timeline points? No, this was Ninja was like, hey, go talk to him. A few minutes later, he's like, hey, I'm here to talk to you. That's what happened.
I think this is present Jackson or future Jackson, but I could be wrong.
I would bet $1,000. This is the same era as the one at the beginning where he's like, we beat.
Go back and put on subtitles. Let's see.
What? How is subtitles going to help?
Because we're going to see what he says.
He says he's here to train him and all that. Oh, you know what? I don't think this has subtitles, or does it?
I think it does.
Okay, Brody Romero. What? He's not going to say anything like this is. What's he going to say? This is me, but I'm like 10 years older than the version of me you saw at the beginning of this episode.
Hang on.
Right.
Keep going. Hang on.
There's a great evil coming to destroy the Morphin grid. You're the only one that can stop it. Rise of the ninja. I like the music here. And then they cut to this scene. So I don't know what. Here's the thing. You could be right. I don't think you are, but you could. But you're not going to find the evidence of it when he shows. That'd be like if I just was like, hey, by the way, I'm 3 years older than you thought I was. Like, what? How would that even come up? Makes no sense.
I will say they only do that in South Park right now, and it is quite funny when they do it.
I do like this intro. This is a cool path. I was gonna. Okay, I like that they're having Daishi come back in a female body. That's cool. I noticed the Jungle Fury gauntlets right away. I did have sound notes about this, but I will just put that under the blanket of sound notes, like not ideal. That was a very cool effect.
Yeah.
One of the best, I think. Like it just matched perfectly. And I will give that praise right after I give another critique. Unfortunately,
You don't like the armor?
I don't mind the armor. I
Okay.
don't like the way they're filming the two personalities in one body talking to themselves. It's not different enough.
Got it.
It's because at first I thought the spirit was going to go in them, and like Jared Daishi, they would just become I'm Daishi now. But then it was like, oh no, she's still herself, but she's a servant. So then when she said the second line as Daishi, see, what is your bidding, my master? And it's just a slightly different shot. I guess it's maybe flipped, but I felt like it should be a much different shot, have different lighting,
Or
voice
like a
modulation,
90-degree angle almost.
something, because like I picked it up, and maybe I'm an idiot, but it was just like, oh, I guess, and
Totally unrelated, but keep going.
yeah. But I mean, maybe it was spoiled because of, you think of like Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Now that was a masterpiece. I don't expect everything to be that, but like, just like, oh, there are ways to do this. And maybe this is one of those things, like, again, behind the scenes, they had sound issues. Maybe they also had, we had this one shot and we're just stuck with it. But it just seemed like it should have been more dramatic, that it was two different personalities talking, as opposed to just like, oh, what do you want me to do? This is what I want you to do. Okay, I guess. Yeah. Like,
Another thing that's cool about this,
it wasn't
is-
flipped. Hold on, wait. It wasn't even flipped because the tree's on the same way. So it's literally just a few inches to the right.
the other thing I like is they're making the prism important before Power Rangers went, hey, that prism's kind of important, huh?
Oh yeah, the Nexus prism. Well, and I love, you're absolutely right about that. And I do love going back to,
Right here, he says it. Scroll back slightly.
okay.
No,
You're not going to be excited because I know what they're saying here. What exactly do you mean? How are we talking right now? Okay. You should be older. Yes, because in the time of Ninja Steel, the person who is just starting the Win Ninja Academy would be much older. This does not prove your point at all.
It actually refutes my point significantly.
Well, I don't even know if it refutes it, but it certainly doesn't back. And he even says, he goes, it's true. If I'm alive at your point in time, I am much older because I don't know what 15 years, whatever, So he's saying I am from the past, but we're speaking through this dimension, so it's fine.
Dang it, I got it backwards. My bad. I remembered it incorrectly.
Sorry. That's why you got to take notes. No, but I love that Brody, again, this is something that Power Rangers continually fails at, even in the things I love, when there's just like a couple lines of dialogue, because they would say budget and this and that, like a couple lines of dialogue. How is this happening? What is going on? Oh, well, we have special ninja powers and we're in this special dimension. Yeah, but you should be older. Yeah, but we could just connect through our minds through time. And it's like, okay, does that make sense? How does that make sense? I don't know. It's Power Rangers. He literally says the Morphin grid. Fine. He said, we're ninjas. Through the Morphin grid, we could do this. Done. Fine. But if this was Power Rangers, like Saban, Hasbro, Disney, whatever, they wouldn't address the age issue at all. They'd just be like, oh, well, somehow he's younger. Like just, it just wouldn't even come up. And
or they'd say, I don't have time, and then just keep talking.
That would be better. That would still be something, but yeah. It allows them, it just explains everything. It just explains everything as much as you need to. Because they always talk about, like, well, it's a kid's show. And like, I don't know how many kids are watching these fan films. Hopefully some. But they always say it's a kid's show. And it's like, yeah, you don't need to explain it for like 3 hours and pull out a pie chart, but just sort of go, oh, well, we have this power. And, I'm going to be real with you. When you put your mind to it, there's special powers. Yeah, I don't know why. I really do love the filter on the whole thing and the other dimension, because it's
cooler than it needs to be.
Yeah, and it's different enough that they're there, but it's not super distracting and like hard to watch. And so now they do a quick little training. Similar thing of like, I don't know how realistic. I like that he uses a little force push wind power, but I don't know how realistic any of this is. It seems like, again, very showy, but it works.
More the latter.
It works.
Showy.
Oh, gotcha.
But it's cool. I like it.
Yeah. And also, we know they're not trying to kill each other. It's like, it's a sparring
mental training.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, it's here. And so he wakes up. I do like that he comes out of it and he sends something. Side note, I feel awkward saying this because I've met this gentleman, William Schufelt. He's a nice guy. I've met, so personalities come into it, personal life comes into it. But I've said Ninja Steel is one of, if not my least favorite seasons of Power Rangers. But I've also said things like, I wasn't a big fan of Troy on Megaforce, and then I saw him out of Megaforce, and I'm like, oh, he seems like a decent, charismatic actor. Like, so we don't know what happens where. I like him in this way more than I did in Ninja Steel, and I like this way more than I did Ninja Steel. So
Yes.
it's one of those things of like, there's a million people making a million decisions. So even if I say I don't like a show or I don't like a particular character, it doesn't mean I don't like the person or I don't think they're capable of doing better, because proof right here.
I mean, all summarizing what you said, I think the easiest thing to put is the best Power Rangers is when there's less cooks in the kitchen.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's been proven here actually multiple times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you don't have all these other people chiming in, like, no, Power Rangers does this really well, let's do this. All right, cool. Boom. Arguably some of the best Power Rangers we've seen.
Yeah. Yeah. Similar with the comics too, because it's just like the writer and the artist and the editor. And as long as, Hasbro doesn't say no, they can just do whatever.
Speaking of which, I have a fun tidbit about the comics that ties into this at the very end.
Oh, okay. So now Daishi's shown up. She can sense the Nexus energy, but
I
she's
love those gauntlets, man.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's a little bit like a
primal looking.
Yeah, it's like Shredder if he was like killing dinosaurs or something.
Yeah. Caveman Shredder.
Yeah. But the essence is growing, so they've taken over his students. And he was trying to summon the Ninja Star. He couldn't do it. Then she's like, give it to me, and he pulls it out, but he uses it smartly instead of the fight to escape. And I like that he fights them and then he escapes. He uses like the Ninja Vanish move, which again, I like that. It's like, oh, that's a great move to have, and why wouldn't you bust that out all the time?
Yeah.
What is weird though, it's like, when you use that star, I'll find you, and then he gets away, and then he immediately uses the star. And I know that's a storytelling choice to be like ta-da-da, and it's cool, but I wish there was another scene or a beat in between, because like, as soon as he used them to find him, so like I expected her to be like, here I am, like I just said, but fine, and then back to the dimension. And again, an example of dialogue fixing things that don't make sense very easily when she shows up.
Yup.
Because the good thing is, this is Jessica Rae, who played Alyssa on Wild Force, the White Ranger. She was never in Ninjetti that I know, maybe in the comics or something. And what's great is, forgetting that, if you've never watched Wild Force, if you didn't recognize the actress, if this is the only thing you've ever watched, you've never watched Power Rangers, they have Brody go, oh, you're Alyssa, the White Wild Force Ranger. You're an Ninjetti. It explains who she is and why we should care
immediately,
and addresses the fact that this isn't your usual suit. And she's like, you're right, I'll tell you later, which, she may or may not, but like, I'm fine. It just fixed everything. I loved it.
And I love the Ninjetti costumes, man. They're so cool.
I like them. I don't love them.
I have more of an affinity for the movie than you, which I think is why I like them so much.
That's totally possible. Yeah.
And I liked the diamond in the headband to throw back to MMPR suits.
I never realized that until just now.
Yep, all the diamonds in it are incorporated from the MMPR suits.
Never even occurred to me.
Do you like it more now?
I do like it more, not still not as much as you, but to the point where you're like, this is how dumb I am. Even when you were like, I like the diamond there, and I'm like, okay, like fine, diamond, who cares? Like, well, I like the stripe, like, all right, I guess, and then you're like, because like Mighty Morphin, I'm like, how does that even? And then I'm like, oh no, I'm an idiot. I've never ever thought of that. But to be fair, I've been kind of vaguely dismissive of the costumes. Not that I dislike them, but it's just like, oh, okay. They're, in my mind, I was always like, well, they're not real Power Ranger suits. They're like the intermediate suits, so it doesn't really matter, kind of.
It is a thing where, like, I've watched a lot of footage. There's a guy who I follow on Twitter called Raz. I think his handle's like Razzle17 something. Look him up. Raz is really cool. He posts a lot of Ranger content. He does giveaways. And he posted like all day today Ninjetti stuff of them fighting in the Ninjetti costumes. And I'm like, it's kind of growing on me. And I do like their weird, like, double, like, pinky thumb kind of deal with it,
I think it was just, for me, it was like these aren't as cool as the Mighty Morphin, and they're not as cool as the Zeo. It's just this intermediate, like, they're not terrible. They're just,
Well, because I like the suits from the movie because you got to see their faces, kind of like we said, calling back to the previous episode.
Yeah.
And I get why they did the full hood, so it was really easy for the stunt actors.
yes.
But that's what made them unappealing.
Yeah. But he basically explains, like, you're going to train with me, then her, and then Ninja Storm. Ninja Steel. Did he mention he talked about how the Alien Rangers, he's like, they were ninja, but they were never called ninja on Earth. Like, again, easy way to fix that, because clearly they're ninja, but, on Earth, whatever. And it's time for you to master your power. And then, now, interestingly, this was not directed. The other Shattered Past, I should say, was Sean. I had it in my notes. What's
Swanson.
his name? Sean. Yeah. This. No. This was Sean Swanson. The other one was. Where's my note? It's a different person, isn't it? Or am I crazy?
I think you are crazy.
Oh, I am crazy. It is the same.
Yeah, Sean Swanson's the guy from Crimson Vision and Nerdbot who did the Reverse Flash Origin stuff.
Yeah.
Does all this
no. Okay, I got my notes wrong. This one was written by Colin and William Schufelt. That was the difference. Okay, so I'm a director, but I meant to be talking about the writer. So that's cool that William came in and I guess gave his notes or whatever. And again, more proof that maybe he had something to offer that wasn't being taken advantage of in Ninja Steel.
Well, I think it's a thing. When you're, like we said, we're not going to sugarcoat it. We didn't love Ninja Steel. But when he gets to be that character for that long, he's like, at the end of it, it's not the best Power Ranger season, but like, if I could do it, here's what I would do with the character.
Yeah,
and this is the proof in the pudding.
Yes, absolutely. Talking about that season, this it is fine, but I was like, it was weird to me because he's like, I don't have an elemental power. And he's like, all ninjas that are good somewhere have it, even if you haven't developed it. And you're going to master the power of wind. Because he's the wind ninja guy, and that's his power. Similarly, in the beginning of the episode, when he's like, my kid's going to be a wind ninja, I'm hoping he's wrong, because Brody should be fire, because he used fire in Ninja Steel. He had the dragon fire armor or whatever it was called, and
Lion Fire.
Yeah, he had a mode. It's fine if they don't, but I feel like it's a missed opportunity. Because it's the same joke of you're going to do wind, and then he doesn't, so I think that'd be funny. And I just feel like it should be fire. Why not?
I guess we'll find out in the future in episode 3 or 4 of Power Rangers Rise of the Ninja.
Yes, and I think that's all my notes.
Unrelated, ATO Worldwide is going to be in future episodes of Rise of the Ninja. I don't know if you're aware of that, but he is. I wonder who he will be. Huh. It's weird. Follow them on social media and find out the answers right now.
We're trying not to do spoilers.
Yeah.
But, what are you gonna do? Let me stop this. So that was fun. I'm thinking next week we go back to Jungle Fury to break it up, and then do what?
I agree. Let's go back to Jungle
Fury. Dino Fury. Yeah, let's just watch Jungle Fury.
Honestly, let's just sit and go, man, RJ's so cool.
No, next week let's go back to Dino Fury and break it up, and then maybe the week after come back to this and sort of interspace. If you have questions or answers about anything we talked about here, leave them below. I'll put links to all the various things we talked about, and if there's any indie toku out there that we haven't talked about, let us know. Because we dig it. I think we've talked about most of the big stuff. What we haven't talked about too much, I think we've glossed over but haven't is the Jamingers and Deca Mexican and all that stuff.
Yeah, we haven't really done anything formally for Jamingers.
Yeah. So maybe once we get done with this, we'll hit them up down the road. But if there's anything we're missing that you think we should take a look at and talk about on the show, please let us know. We'd be happy to do it. In the meantime, anything else, Big Dog?
What I was going to say, just because I'm curious, if you guys prefer Dino Fury reviews or us looking at Power Rangers related content that's, the fan series or things like that, let us know, just because, especially when we get to a hiatus from the main series, we are always curious what people like to see and what, videos people gravitate towards. So if we have that, full transparency, we're taking it into consideration. It doesn't mean we're all right and we're heel turning hard, but we do like to obviously, have a good dialogue in the comments and put out stuff that people like. So let us know.
And feel free to throw out this is my favorite season, review that. But keep in mind, everybody has their favorite seasons. Like when we did SPD, those videos were pretty well liked because I think everybody liked SPD. but there's very few seasons that like everybody's on board with, you know. So
like Overdrive, when we get there, we're doing it for us. I'm just gonna put it out there. When we review Overdrive, it is
Operation Overdrive is my favorite season.
and I hope you all enjoy it as well. But when it happens, it'll be because we need to check that box.
yeah, true. In the meantime, I have been Gazbot
Still Big Dog
and
to the power.
end credits. This is pretty long, but I guess we did do 2 episodes technically.
Yeah, it was about an hour. That was about what I thought.
It was 1:05. Yeah, I do feel like we talk more about these short episodes than we do about the longer Power Rangers episodes on average.
Yeah, I mean these we went the full breakdown. We had kind of a half review of Cybertron.
Yeah,
So-
a lot of little rants and tributaries. Whatever.
Yeah, but
if you're watching this for the first time, this is what you get. And if it's not the first time, you knew what you would get.
Yeah.
Bye.